In this lecture, I will discuss about the electronic properties of solids. Uh, on the basis of electronic properties of solids, one can explain number of physical phenomena related to the metals. So, how solar panel basically works, how hard disk of a personal computer works, how this microwave oven works, what is superconductivity, how magnetically levitated train runs on the train track. So there are a wide scope of this particular chapter, and especially for this particular concept that cover many number of phenomena like electric current into the conductors, light emitting diodes, how they work, photodiode, transistor, power lines. All these things basically one can explain on the basis of this particular concept. So free electron theory of solids I have to cover. That idea basically is associated with this picture where these green color balls indicate to the positive ion of the lattice of that particular metal, and these black dots indicate to the free electrons that is negatively charged, and they can move here and there within the lattice freely, right? So before we go into that particular detail of the chapter, there are some outlines to make this picture more clear, that how one can explain the electronic properties of solid on the basis of free electron theory gases. So my first question is that what are the properties of the solids? So in introduction I will discuss about it. The second question is what is free electron gas concept. Third point is how and why we use particle in a box concept on the electron gas in metals, right? So in this particular topic, the electronic properties of solids, if one have to understand that a basic concept of the quantum mechanics, that is particle in a box or particle in a infinite potential well, that information is must. Now my point is that I have described here at the second stage about the free electron gas, and then after I have implement the approach of a bound system in quantum mechanics on the free electron gas. So how and why we use particle in a box concept on the electron gas in metals, right? At the fourth point, the question is how to find out the eigenvalues and eigenfunctions for the free electrons. So here if I using the approach of particle in a box on the electron gases, then I have to find out the eigenvalues and eigenfunctions for the free electrons, right? These free electrons related to the free electron gas, and that I will discuss is in a systematic way. Number 5, what is the concept of Fermi energy? Number 6, how to find out the number of electrons, velocity and momentum of these electrons correspond to any energy level for the free electrons in a metal. At 7th point, I will discuss that how the free electrons are distributed among the available energy states. So here up to the 7th point, how I am going first of all that define the properties. At second point, the free electron gas in metal, then use a approach of free particle in a box, then after I have find out the eigenvalues and eigenfunction of those free electrons, then define a Fermi energy level, and then after the energy, velocity and momentum, how many number of the electrons are these up to the Fermi level. So these points I have discussed. At 8th point, I have discussed about the density of energy states. So if one has already find it out that these are the total numbers, so these uh, number of electrons actually distributed into the different energies levels. So how many energy levels are those? That is basically energy density of energy states. So when one analyze the Fermi-Dirac distribution function on the basis of temperature, what results it tells about the probability of electrons in that energy states. One knows that electrons are fermions, and distribution of the electrons in particular energy states can be defined with the help of Fermi-Dirac distribution function. At this particular stage, I have to discuss that on the basis of temperature, at absolute temperature T is equal to 0 and T greater than equal to 0, what happens? How the probability distribution function behaves. That analysis is discussed at the 9th stage. And then at the end, how one can find out the average energy of free electrons is discussed. So these are the 10 points of this chapter, which I have discussed in a systematic way. So at the first stage, यहाँ पे जो डिस्कस किया है वो डिस्कस ये किया है कि मेरे पास में कोई भी एक करंट कैरिंग कंडक्टर हो सकता है, ये सिंपलेस्ट एग्जांपल है। उस कंडक्टर के अंदर जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स का फ्लो है, इलेक्ट्रॉन्स का फ्लो के कारण करंट है। तो ये जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं, ये जो फ्री इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं, इनकी नेचर क्या है और ये किसी मेटल की जो प्रॉपर्टीज हैं उसको किस तरह से अफेक्ट करते हैं, उन्हीं पॉइंट उन्हीं अफेक्ट्स को बेसिकली यहाँ पे स्टडी किया हुआ है। तो नंबर 1, द फर्स्ट स्लाइड ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर लेक्चर is related to the free electron theory, electronic properties of solids, right? So in introduction, we know that solid are formed by a strong bonding between atoms, may be broadly classified as into two categories, एक metals and second non-metals. Metals are categorized further, conductors and semiconductors. Non-metals means insulator, right? So the focus is only on the metals, and metals are of two types, conductors and semiconductors. And these conductors and semiconductors are formed with the four type of bonding between the atoms. Number 1 is covalent bond, number 2 ionic bond, number 3 metallic bond, and number 4 van der Waals type bond is. These bond basically can be explained with some simple picture. Here I have considered, in case of number 1 covalent bond between two hydrogen atoms, that basically is shown like this way. In case of H2, these two electrons are shared by both the atoms of hydrogen atom. And in case of ionic bond, you know that sodium chloride is the simplest example, where sodium have one extra electron and chlorine have some requirement to get the stable configuration. So when sodium basically donate one electron to the chlorine, so as a result what happens, sodium here is a donator. So because of that, sodium have a positive charge, and chlorine is acceptor, and because he is accepting only one electron, and because of that only one negative sign. So this indicate Na plus Cl minus to that particular picture. Metallic bond, you can see here that in a particular metal, these positive sign indicate to the ions of the metal, and negative sign indicate to the electron cloud in that metal. And there is an electrostatic attraction between these positive ions of the metal and the electron cloud. Because of that, this system is in equilibrium. And number 4, that is related to the van der Waals. So van der Waals is shown by this case. Here electron is revolving around the nucleus, that is you can say hydrogen atom, and this is their neighbor, again a hydrogen atom. So the interaction of this electron with the nucleus of the neighbor atom, so that interaction actually is very small, and that can be defined through the van der Waal attraction, right? Van der Waal attractions basically are weak interactions. So this is the idea of bonding between the atoms, how many type of the bonds are available between the you can say metals. So now the point is about the properties of the metals or metals in conductor or semiconductor. So it is important that we have to understand the behavior of electrons in metal, because electrons decide the properties of a metal. So the main of this lecture is to understand the role of electrons in deciding the properties of metals. Main properties which we know are: number 1, high electrical conductivity and the thermal conductivity. Now, what are those properties of metals for which Drude and Lorentz have been attempts on the basis of free electron theory? Electronic properties of the solids explained on the basis of free electron theory model that was proposed by the Drude and Lorentz. So here, what basically are those properties of metals, right, which Drude and Lorentz have been attempts on the basis of free electron theory? So before we go into the detail of this particular section, so we have to understand the idea first of all about the free electron. So वो free electron क्या है? Which electrons are considered free into the metal? So the example are considered here of sodium, magnesium and aluminum. You know the atomic number of those, 11, 12 and 13 respectively. If you see the electronic configuration or number of electrons in their cells, so you can say that in the first cell there are 2 electrons in case of sodium, 8 into the second cell, 1 is into the third cell, and similarly for magnesium and aluminum. So 1, 2, 3 electrons are the outermost orbit electrons of these 3 atoms. So the valence electrons are responsible for the conduction of electricity, one knows, and that is basically is current. So these electrons are called conduction electrons. If I write here the electronic configuration of the sodium, so these 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, these 10 electrons basically develop a core of that sodium atom, and one is this outermost orbit electron that is a very loosely bound with the nucleus and is valence electron also. So now the point is what basically I have defined here a core of the atom or ion and the valence electron. So if one have to define the valence electron, that is defined in case of sodium, valence electron, the outermost orbit electron, this is in third cell, s is orbital, so n is equal to 3, l is equal to 0. L is the orbital quantum number, n is the principal quantum number. So what are the properties of metals for which basically Drude and Lorentz propose the idea of free electron theory of gases? So in the first slide we have seen the idea of free electron. What is the free electron? Valence electron is the free electron. And now we will discuss about the properties of metals, that what are the properties of the metals. So there are some outstanding physical properties of metals are mentioned, in which the number one is metallic conductors obey Ohm's law. It means that the current density J is directly proportional to the applied electric field E. So J is equal to sigma into E, where sigma you can say is the conductivity. This is the first properties that is related to the Ohm's law, and second one is high electrical and thermal conductivities for the metals. Number 3, at low temperature the resistivity rho is proportional to the fifth power of absolute temperature. Right. So one knows that these sigma is the conductivity, rho is represented by the resistivity, both related with this inversely proportional relationship. Right. So these were the three properties. The next property is, at the room temperature resistivity of metals is in the range of 10 raised power minus 6 to 10 raised power minus 8 ohm meter, and it increases on addition of a small amount of impurities. If resistivity will increase, it means conductivity will decrease. So resistivity normally decreases with decreasing of temperature. So this is the second statement about the resistivity. For most of the metals, next point, for most of the metal resistivity is inversely proportional to the pressure. Right. So here rho is represent to the resistivity, and this P represent to the pressure. And the last point, for superconductors metal at absolute temperature the resistivity becomes 0. There are some metals basically their resistivity becomes 0 at absolute temperature. Now the Jth point, in the magneto-resistance effect, the conductivity of metals varies in the presence of external magnetic field, and the ratio of thermal to electrical conductivities is directly proportional to the absolute temperature. This is known as Weidmann-French law. So free electron theory model explains successfully many of these common properties of metals. This is the idea. So some of the properties are mentioned here, and with the help of free electron theory we will just try to explain some of the properties which we have discussed here. Now the next point. Now we have understand what is the free electron, what are the basic physical properties of the solids, and now the point is about the assumptions of the free electron theory model. So what is basically free electron theory? So we know that in a metal, the metal crystal have positive ions whose valence electrons are free to move between the ions. These free electrons, valence electron, are equivalent to the molecules of any gas. So here you can see this is the sodium metal. So by this picture I have just tried to show that lattice. Sodium has a BCC structure, and distance between nearest neighbors is 3.7 angstrom. Right, the distance between one atom to the second one, their neighbor, is of 3.7 angstrom. So in this picture the distance between these two atoms is of the order of 3.7 angstrom. If I write the electronic configuration of the sodium atom, that is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1, as you have seen earlier. These electrons are distributed into the cell like this one, 2, 8 and 1. This is first cell, second cell and the third cell. The radius of the third cell where this last electron, valence electron, exists, that is represented by R, and that is 1.9 angstrom. So there are two things I have mentioned here. One is the interatomic distance between the sodium atom, and second is the radial distance of the valence electron in the atom. Right, that picture may be more clear from this artistic view. This is my sodium atom, first sodium atom. This is second sodium atom. The distance between these two atoms, two neighbors in the sodium lattice, that is of the order of 3.7 angstrom. And the valence electron radial distance of that in an orbit of the atom, of an individual atom, is 1.9 angstrom. So you can see that there is enough space for this electron and for this electron of the second atom to move in between these two atoms, right? Because this is 3.7 angstrom और ये यहाँ पे जो आपका है इलेक्ट्रॉन वो ओनली 1.9 एंगस्ट्रॉम रेडियल डिस्टेंस के साथ में है और दूसरा एटम इस पोजीशन पे है. सो दिस इलेक्ट्रॉन कैन मूव इन बिटवीन these two atoms of this lattice. So this was the idea. It means this electron can move in between the atoms, in between the ions. So this is the idea, main idea of the free electron theory of gases. So now the second point, the crystal is bound together by the positive ions, that is core of the atoms, and negatively charged electron gas, right, by the electrostatic force of attraction. So first point was what? These electrons can move in between to the ions, and second point is about the stability of the system. So that is because of the electrostatic force of attraction between the positive ions, core of the metal ions, and the cloud of the free electrons. Third point, the mutual repulsion between the electrons is ignored. The third assumption of the free electron theory gases is what? That the mutual interaction between these free electrons, right, that is basically is ignored. No contribution of the mutual interaction between the among the electrons. So number 4, the potential due to positive ions is uniform. So there is no charge change in energy of the electron in lattice. The fourth point basically is assumed that because of the positive ions of the metal, potential remains uniform. So there is no change into the energy of the electron in lattice, right? In the lattice, the potential energy is constant, and because of that, when electron moves in between those ions, the electron does not change their energy, right? So potential is constant, or you can say on the other hand that is equal to 0 inside the metal. Number 5th point, the electrons are moving in random directions and collide frequently with the residual ions. The 5th point basically, these electrons are moving in random direction collide frequently with the residual ions. Residual ions, here I have considered the case of sodium ion. So the core of the sodium ion is the residual ion, except to the valence electron. Rest of the part of the atom is known as residual ions. Here it is assumed that valence electrons travel in constant potential inside the metal. These electrons are prevented from leaving the crystal because of the higher potential at the surface of the crystal. So electron is treated like a particle in a well as an infinite depth well. I defined here that the assumptions about the free electron gas concept in earlier slides, that why we are treated those electrons which moves in between the crystal lattice are free, right, because there is no potential inside the metal. And second point, we are saying that these electron cannot escape automatically from the surface of the crystal. So it means at the surfaces of the metal is higher potential. On the other hand, one can say that potential is infinite. So electron cannot jumps from the or leave the crystal surface. So electron is treated like a particle in a well, right, that is in an infinite depth well. I am making this statement more clear for the free electron theory of gases, right, because we have to apply here a free particle in a box approach on the free electron gases in metal. So what are the restrictions, what are the boundary conditions actually for that concept? So here only 2 points we have discussed. Number 1, assumptions for the free electron gas, and second, about the potential inside the metal. So the idea is like this one: a particle is in a box or in infinite potential well, depth well. The dimension is considered here x is equal to 0 to x is equal to L. Potential is equal to 0 inside and infinite at the boundary. So electron in a one-dimensional potential well. Free electron theory. On earlier slides, the earlier video lecture, I have discussed about 3 questions that was related to the properties of the metals, how to define free electron gas in metals, and how and why one can use the concept of bound system for the free electron gas in metals, right. So I am repeating again a little bit portion of those slides, that free electrons gas in crystal, basically why we are saying that free electron gas. The first point is about the free particle. We define free particle only to those particle where they can move here and there freely. It means there is no potential. So potential is 0. Potential is 0, and because of that there is no force. So particle can move here and there. This was the first point. Second point, that no any single particle electron leaves the surface of the metal. It means one can conclude that there is higher potential on the surface of the metal. So these are 2 points. Number 1, potential is 0 and potential is higher at the boundary, at the surfaces of the crystal. So these were the 2 points which we have considered here, and there was no any mutual interaction between the electrons, those free electrons. And free electrons are here the valence electrons of the metal atom. So these were the some points about the free electrons, and now I have to discuss about the free electron theory, that what basically how one can basically find out the eigenvalues and eigenfunction for these free electrons, right. So in this section of video I will discuss that free electron theory and the approach of quantum mechanics to these free electrons, right. So free electrons theory was proposed by Sommerfeld by implementing the idea of free electrons, that was particle in a box in quantum mechanics, where one used the Schrodinger's time independent equation to determine the energy and eigenfunction of the free particle. So Schrodinger equations is d2 psi plus 2m upon h cross square E minus v psi is equal to 0. This is our Schrodinger equation, time independent Schrodinger equation, which we have to use for these free electrons. But in quantum mechanics we have used this equation for a bound system, right, to a single atom, and the energy of the electron in this system was quantized. That means energy is in discrete form. So in the beginning we have to keep this idea in our mind, that we are using time independent Schrodinger equation which were used for a bound system, that was single atom, and the energy of electron there was quantized, it means discrete, right. And here we are using the same approach as we have applied on the bound system on the free electrons in metal. So the question is how to determine restrictions imposed by quantum mechanics on the energy of an electron moves inside the crystal. So this is one of the major important point, right. So what are those conditions? A, number 1, the permissible energy levels are determined by considering that electron is limited to remain within the one-dimensional or three-dimensional, as the case will be, at the given length of the crystal. So here we have defined the boundary that the free electrons in the metal will remain within this boundary that varies from 0 to L. This is x is equal to 0. Dimension of this metal box varies from x is equal to x1. I have mentioned here x1 is L. So this is the length, right, length of the box. So this is first case, that within this length we have to find out the permissible energy level. Second point is potential is constant inside the metal and considered equal to 0, and electron cannot escape because of high potential at the surfaces, right. So in the first case the energy levels we have defined within the boundary condition, that is the one-dimensional length or might be three-dimensional, it depends on the situation. And second important point is about the potential, that is constant or considered 0 here. Now the point here, moving electrons inside a metal can be associated with the waves with a wave function psi x in one-dimensional case, that is psi r in three-dimensional. So characteristics of these electrons can be studied with the help of Schrodinger's one-dimensional equation, and that equation you know is d2 psi upon dx square plus 2m upon h cross square E minus V psi is equal to 0. The potential energy is defined as V, that is function of x, because we are considering here one dimensional situation. So Vx is equal to V0 within the range when x is less than or equal to 0 and x is greater than or equal to L, and this potential is equal to 0 for when x is greater than 0 and x is less than L. Here V0 we have considered that is infinite at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to L. So this is the definition of our potential into this case, into this particular case where we are discussing about the free electron theory of gases. So by using these condition of potential from equation 2 for an electron inside the well that is equal to 0. So V is equal to 0 here. So you can see here that these are the dimension of the infinite depth potential well, and V is equal to 0 inside the potential well. At x is equal to 0 here, this is x is equal to 0, that is this particular wall represent the infinite potential. So it means the particle cannot jump outside the well itself. And similarly at x is equal to L, you can see that is also infinite. So at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to L, this is the dimension of the potential well, and particle is inside and are free to move here and there. So electron can move freely within the well because forces are saturated. So net force is 0. So V is equal to minus F dot dr is equal to 0. If F is equal to 0, that means potential is equal to 0. This is the idea. So this idea is basically inside the metal there is a uniform constant potential because of the positive ions of the crystal of the metal, and that electron moves through that without any disturbance, without any change into the energy. So the Schrodinger equations becomes d2 psi plus d2 psi upon dx square plus 2m upon me upon h cross square E psi is equal to 0. Here V is equal to 0, so I am putting the value of V here, that is 0. So equation becomes like this way: d2 psi upon dl x square plus k square psi is equal to 0, where k square is equal to this factor 2me upon h cross square. From here you can find out the value of E, that is h cross square k square upon 2m. So I have these two equation number 3 and equation number 4. This is second order differential equation number equation 3, and we have to solve it. The solution of this equation number 3 is like this: a sin kx plus b cos kx, where a and b are constant, arbitrary constant. Basically we have to determine these value by applying some boundary condition. Boundary conditions are what? Those basically at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to L, what will be the value of wave function? Through that one can find out the value of these constant. So applying the boundary condition from equation 2 on the this particular equation. So the first one, at x is equal to 0, psi x will be equal to 0. It means at the boundary here you can see at x is equal to 0, there is no any probability to find the particle. So obviously the wave function will be equal to 0, and same situation at x is equal to L. So at x is equal to L, you cannot find the particle. Particle is between x is equal to 0 and less than L, and beyond this side and other side there is no probability of finding the electron. So when we put the value of x is equal to 0 and psi x is equal to 0 in equation number 5, so we get this result. In the left hand side, psi x is equal to 0, a sin kx, x is equal to 0, so this factor is equal to 0 sin 0, plus b cos 0, b is constant, kx, x is equal to 0, so kx is equal to 0. So we are getting this result, right? So in the left hand side, that is 0, that is the result of these two terms, a sin 0 plus b cos 0. It means the sum of these two terms is equal to 0. So if we analyze the first part, that is a sin 0, so here one can conclude that sin 0 is equal to 0. It means this factor is 0. So the conclusion was basically what? The sum of these two terms, a sin 0 and b cos 0, is equal to 0, and this is possible only when either of these one of these factor is equal to 0. So sin 0 is equal to 0, it means a is not equal to 0. Here cos 0 is equal to 1, that is non-zero term, so it might be b is equal to 0. So conclusion is that b is equal to 0 and a is not equal to 0 from this analysis, right? So this was the procedure to determine the value of arbitrary constant, that was b. And now applying the second boundary condition, that is at x is equal to L, and again at the wall there is no probability to find the electron, so psi x will be equal to 0. Now we have seen an earlier slide that b, arbitrary constant, is equal to 0. So when we put the value in this wave function, psi x is equal to a sin kx and b is equal to 0, so the second term, there is no contribution of the second term, so psi x is equal to a sin kx. Now when you are putting the value of x is equal to L, psi x is equal to 0 obviously, and the wave function form will be psi x is equal to a sin kx, and it becomes psi x is equal to 0 when you put the value at the second point, second boundary condition. It is a sin kl, because at x is equal to L, so a is not equal to 0, it means sin kl is equal to 0 if we analyze, because from the earlier slide or analysis about the arbitrary constant, so a is not equal to 0, it means the second factor is equal to 0, that is sin kl, and it is possible only when sin kl will be equal to the sin n pi. When we compare both sides, we found that kl is equal to n pi, where n is an integer that represents the order of the state. But remember that n is equal to 0, state is not allowed. You cannot put the value of n is equal to 0, because if you will put the n is equal to 0, so k will be equal to 0. If k is equal to 0, that means psi x is equal to 0 everywhere in the box. K is the wave vector that comes into the wave function, right? Here this k. So when you put n is equal to 0, you have to put the value of it, and then that time psi x will be equal to 0. It means there is no particle, right, associated with this wave function. So n is equal to 0 is not allowed for this particular case. And now when we analyze this situation, sin kl is equal to sin n pi, we can say that kl is equal to n pi, and from here one can find out the value of k, that is n pi upon L. Therefore the solution of the Schrodinger wave equation in the region of the potential well, that basically is from 0 to L, psi n, that wave function, is equal to a sin kx. Now putting the value of k, it becomes a sin n pi x upon L. So for each value of n, there is a psi n quantum state of the electron with energy En. That is, En is equal to, p square upon 2m. P is equal to h cross k, so h cross is square k square upon 2m. And now put the value of k from here, so it becomes h cross square upon 2m into n square pi square upon l square. By this way one can find out the energy eigenvalue of the electron. So after simplification of it, En we get n square h square upon 8ml square, similar to the bound system like in atom, one electron atom. So the states basically is further can be shown into the potential. Well, so E1 correspond n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, that is E2, and that is basically equal to the for E1. N is equal to 3, that is equal 3 state E3, and that is equal to the 9 of E1. At n is equal to 4, fourth state, and that is represented by the E4 equal to 16 E1. So all these states you see are discrete energy states. These are known as discrete energy level, right? So you know that E in is equal to n square h square upon 8ml square. When you will put the value of n is equal to 1, that will be correspond to the ground state, and n is equal to 2 is the first excited state. And when you are putting the value of n here, that becomes 4, and 4 times of E1. Here n is equal to 3 becomes 9 times of E1, n is equal to 4 becomes 16 times of E1. So this is the ratio between ground state to the other excited state. But remember, to solve such kind of problem, the first excited state will be represented by n is equal to 2, not by n is equal to 1. N is equal to 1 is the ground state. So this is one of the important point. You can say that n is equal to 2 is your first excited state. So if one asks you to solve find out the first excited state energy of the electron, of free electron or free particle, then you have to put the value n is equal to 2, and second excited state n is equal to 3, right? So E1 is the ground state. Now we have seen the energy states. They are discrete for this particular system. And now about the wave function. So psi n is represented by this a sin kx formula a here. So where a is normalization constant, this a is normalization constant, which we have to find out. So how to determine the value of a? So for that we will use the boundary condition, normalization condition, that is basically minus infinity to plus infinity mod of psi square dx is equal to 1, where this mod psi square is the probability. So here you can see that this px is the probability of a particle within the range of dx. So for that basically we can write it mathematically, mod psi square dx. And total probability within the free space will be minus infinity to plus infinity px dx. But here in our case we have considered that the metal is of length L, so it varies from 0 to L one dimensionally, x is equal to 0 to L. So the limit of integration in our case will be 0 to L. So again, this is one of the important point for this particular discussion, when we are trying to make this wave function as a normalized wave function. So the simplification of this result, this is the normalization condition. Here the distribution is equal to 1. It will, if this wave function is normalized, psi x is normalized, So it must satisfy this particular condition for that particular metal within the dimension of 0 to L. Here psi x is equal to a function that is not normalized. We have to make it normalized, right? So 0 to L a square sin square n pi x upon L dx is equal to 1, right? So in we have to solve the integration of sin square, and for that we have to simplify it by this particular way, that cos 2 theta is equal to 1 minus 2 sin square theta. Right, so I have to find out the value of sin square theta from here, and that is 1 by 2 1 minus cos 2n pi x upon L. So instead of this sin x sin square n pi x upon L, I have to write this complete factor 1 by 2 and 1 minus cos 2 n pi x upon L. Now I can integrate it easily. So the result is a square up by 2 x minus L upon 2 n pi sin 2 n pi x upon L, and the limit value 0 to L is equal to 1. When I put the value of x is equal to L and x is equal to 0, I observe this kind of result. So a square by 2 into L is equal to 1. So from here one can find out the value of a, that is equal to square root 2 upon L. It means a is the normalization constant. I have to put this value in the wave function here. This is a. So psi x, the normalized wave function, is a sin n pi x upon L is becomes psi n x is equal to root 2 upon L sin n pi x upon L. So this is the exact wave function which is defined for the free electron in a potential well of depth, infinite depth, right? A wave function is normalize or not normalize. What is it means? What is the physical significance? Basically you have made it normalize. What is it means? The wave function which are shown here in case of n is equal to 1 and n is equal to 2, if suppose a wave function shows such kind of behavior, now this psi 1 is not limited within the boundary x is equal to 0 to x is equal to L. It's some part basically is coming outside the dimension, so it means this wave function is not normalized. We have to make it normalized. Basically we have to bound it within the given dimension, for which we have to calculate the energy states and eigen states, right? So a is normalization constant is basically looks like the amplitude of the wave, that is basically fixed, that is constant, and that normalization constant we found here using the condition, right, for that particular dimension. That is x is equal to 0 to x is equal to L. So now one can find out the wave function for different states. N is equal to 1, that will be psi 1 x, that is in this case you will get only two nodes at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to a. So this is x is equal to 0 and this is x is equal to L, right? So instead of a you can write here L. This is L. At n is equal to 2 you are getting 3 nodes. At x is equal to 0, at x is equal to a by 2, and at x is equal to L again. So L is the length of this potential well. So here you can see it, that at x is equal to 0, at x is equal to L by 2, and at x is equal to L. And for n is equal to 3, you can see here that you are getting first node at x is equal to 0, then second at x by x is equal to a upon 2 3, and third one at x is equal to a upon 3, and the fourth one is at x is equal to L. So these are the nodes, these are the behavior of the wave function. That wave function is normalized. So probability density of the particle you can define by this way: px dx within the range of dx, that is equal to mod psi square dx over a small distance dx, right? So when you will put the value of psi n, that is the normalized wave function, one can find out then the value of the probability of that particle to find within the dimension. So for n is equal to 1, x is equal to L by 2. This right, when you solve the probability for the given function in case of n is equal to 1, so then that time you observe the particle at the center at x is equal to L by 2. So this is the case. So at the center at x is equal to L by 2, right? For n is equal to 2 case, you will find the probability of the particle at two places, at L is equal to at x is equal to L by 4 and at x is equal to 3L by 4, right? So in case of n is equal to 3, you will get the probability of the particle at 3 position, at x is equal to L by 6, at 3L by 6 and 5L by 6. So these are the points which you can see. So here I just try to give the answer of two questions, that what are the free electron gas and how one can basically use the approach of bound system to the free electron gas in a metal, and how one can find out the eigenvalues and eigenfunction for these free electrons. The present topic is Fermi level and Fermi energy, and before that we have studied about the electronic properties of the solids. In this particular topic we will make our idea more clear about the Fermi level and Fermi energy. But before that, because this is a series of lecture, what we did in earlier two parts of the video lecture, the first one basically was focused on the properties of the metals and about the concept of free electron gas. In the second video lecture, basically the restrictions of the quantum mechanics is applied on the electron gas, and we use the approach of particle in a box on that, and from then we find the eigenvalues and eigenfunction for the free electrons. So this was the concept, and now in this third part of this video lecture I have to discuss about the Fermi level. So as one knows that electrons are fermions which obey the Pauli exclusion principle. So at absolute zero temperature, all the energy levels below a certain level will be filled with electrons, and the levels above this will be empty. So in this statement, what is the important point? That is the absolute temperature, and temperature is basically 0 Kelvin. So at this particular 0 temperature, the energy levels below a certain level will be filled completely, and above that level will be empty. So this is the boundary, and this energy level basically divide the two states. One, those are completely filled, and others are empty, completely empty. This level is basically is assigned with the name of Fermi level, and the corresponding energy of this level is known as Fermi energy, that is basically symbolized by EF. So this is the first point, and the importance of Fermi energy level. So we are just discussing about the free electron gas, where we have considered that these electrons are free to move here and there, and there is no potential inside the metal. Outside or at the boundary electron, or these free electron basically feel the higher potential, and because of that they cannot leave the surface. These were the two restrictions on the concept on these electrons. These were the boundary conditions, right? So in metals, electron have not uniform velocity. This is the first point, because in the metals all these electrons don't have same momentum, and because of that the velocity will be different. So no, ideally not uniform velocity, that is represented by the length of the vector in this particular uh, uh, figure. So large length of the vector represent the high momentum, and the small length is the small momentum. So velocity of these electrons vary from lowest to the maximum value. A definite range of momentum in metal, and that range basically is decided by the Fermi level. So consider, if I hope this point is clear after this particular discussion, that electrons don't have uniform velocity. It basically varies from 0 to Vf, and Vf is the velocity in the Fermi energy level. So in earlier slide I have discussed about the Fermi energy level, that this is the extreme energy level which basically decide that all these energy states are filled by the electrons at absolute zero temperature. So in that particular situation this is true. So electrons will have a range of the energy up to the Vf, and obviously that will be energy, if we are talking about the energy, that will vary from 0 to Ef, and similarly for the momentum. So now consider n free electrons are in a box at absolute temperature. In ground state, these electrons may occupy different energy states, which can be so in momentum space, that is known as K space. The one can understand the idea of momentum space or K space similar to the coordinate space, as you see in XYZ any event. So in the coordinate space of XYZ you define an event in terms of X, Y and Z. Similarly here for these free electrons we have considered the momentum space, that is basically depends on the momentum of different electrons which have different energy. So overall we have considered capital N number of free electrons. Electrons energy state in a metal can be determined by assuming a sphere of radius kf in momentum space, or you can say that is a K space, right? Because we know that K varies from 0 to the maximum value, and that is Kf. So here this is the sphere of radius Kf. This is Kf. It varies from 0 to the maximum value is Kf, and along the x-axis this is Kx component, you can say, along the y direction, along the z direction. So these are three different axes, and the designed by the kx, ky and kz. So now we have considered here a momentum space. In that momentum space we are considering a sphere of radius kf, and the energy of the electron is defined by the formula E is equal to p square upon 2m, where p is defined in terms of k, that is h cross k. P is equal to h cross k. So this energy of the particle is equal to h cross square k square upon 2m. Maximum energy of the electron in k space is determined from the Fermi energy concept. Right, so the electrons which are on the surface of kf, the energy of all those electrons will be EF. Right, all these basically electrons which lie at this particular energy level that is defined by the EF will have the same energy. So EF is equal to h cross square kf square upon 2m, where m is the mass of the electron and h is the Planck constant, where h cross is equal to h upon 2 pi. Now we are using the uncertainty principle here, that is del x and del p is equal to h, where del x represent the uncertainty into the position when we try to measure the momentum of the particle, and delta p is the uncertainty at that time when we try to locate the particle exactly. Right, so the product of these two uncertainty is equal to the Planck constant, and this is first law of the uncertainty principle defined by the Heisenberg and known as Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So when we use this uncertainty principle for this particular situation, where we have considered the length of the crystal is L, so delta x will be L, and delta p we know that will be h cross k. So this is h cross k. H cross is equal to h upon 2 pi, and this is delta k. Right, so if I put the values of delta x and delta p from here, so this delta x is L, and this delta p is equal to h cross k, and h cross is equal to h upon 2 pi, and that is further delta k, and this is equal to h. So L into h upon 2 pi into delta k is equal to h. From here you can say that h cancel out, and as a result you have only this result delta k. So change into the delta k is equal to 2 pi by L, where L is the length of the material, that metal basically which we have considered, where we have bound those electrons. So in momentum space, k along any axis change in 2 pi by L. Right, so as you know, earlier we have considered this is along kx, here along this direction we have considered ky, and this kz. So this delta k basically represent the interval basically here, that is equal to 2 pi by L. So each segment along the x-axis, along the y-axis, that is equal to 2 pi by L. Right, so this interval is of 2 pi by L. So here delta k is equal to 2 pi by L is defined by this way. That k2 minus k1 is equal to 2 pi by L. K2 minus K1 indicate to the delta K, and similarly K3 minus K2. Successive interval is equal to 2 pi by L along the x-axis, along the y-axis, and along the z-axis. So K1 is equal to 2 pi by L, K2 is equal to 4 pi by L, K3 is equal to 6 pi by L. It means, right. So we have an idea about the variation of K that is uniform along the x direction, y direction, and z direction. So delta K is equal to 2 pi by L. Now in momentum space, this 2 pi by L is the length along kx, ky, and kz direction, right. So this is a sphere in momentum space where kf is the radius, right. So if there are basically defined these distances 2 pi by L along the x-axis, and similarly here 2 pi by L and along the z-axis, that is 2 pi by L. So if I join all these basically points, so it indicate to the plane, one along the xy, and second is this yz, and the third one is along the this plane k, x, and z. So when I join all these three faces, so it is equivalent to a cubic cell. So now you can further see that the volume of one cell in K space is 2 pi by L cube, where 2 pi by L is a one side. So here by using that idea, what we are just trying to do, we are just trying to find out the volume of a cell, right, and that cell represent to the energy state in which electrons basically are occupied. And now the next point, first what we did, we just try to find out the volume of one cell in K space, and that is 2 pi by L cube. And next we just try to find out the volume of the sphere in K space, that is of radius kf. So the volume of this sphere will be equal to 4 pi by 3 pi kf cube. So I have to find out that how many cells can exist into this sphere. So for that, what I have to do, I have to just divide the total volume of the sphere by the one cell. So by this way I can find out the number of energy cell or energy state. So this is the way to find the energy states. So volume of a sphere divided by volume of a cell. Now the total number of energy states will be equal to 4 pi by 3 pi kf cube upon 2 pi L cube. So according to the Pauli exclusion principle, further, no more than 2 electrons can exist in one energy state, right. So all the 4 quantum numbers could not be same for 2 electrons. So n is the principal quantum number first, L is second, Ml and Ms. These are 4 quantum numbers. So if 3 quantum numbers are same for the 2 electrons, the fourth one is spin quantum number will be different. And so here we did not consider that concept. So now we are introducing this concept that these are the total number of energy states, and in each state one electron basically can exist. So according to the Pauli exclusion principle, by using this concept we are multiplying it by 2. So one can find out the total number of the electrons in those particular energy states. One with spin up, that is ms plus 1 by 2, and second is ms minus 1 by 2. So nf is equal to 2 multiplied by this factor, right. And now this is, after simplification, n is equal to V upon 3 pi square into Kf cube, where V is equal to L cube, where V is the volume that is defined by the L cube. So we have considered here it. So Kf cube is equal to, if we have to find out the value of Kf, then we have to simplify it again. So Kf is equal to 3n pi square upon V and 1 by 3 of it. So here we have find out the total number of electrons that is represented by capital N in terms of V and Kf, and here Kf again in terms of N and V. So one can say that Kf depends only on the ratio of number of electrons and the volume of the cell. So that is number of electrons per unit volume. So Kf does not depends on the mass of the electron. Kf is the momentum at the Fermi energy level, and it does not depends on the mass of the electron. It is independent from the mass of the particle. So these were two mathematical results. One is for the N and second is for the Kf. Now we know the Fermi energy that is defined by h cross square upon 2m into Kf square. So if I have to find out Ef, then I can put the value of Kf here. But before that, if suppose I have to find out the velocity of the particle, these free electrons, then I have to use this formula of Ef is equal to 1 by 2 mvf square, where Vf is the velocity of electron at Fermi level. So now comparing these two parts of energy, 1 by 2 mvf square is equal to h cross square Kf square upon 2m. So by comparing these two results, by putting the value of Kf in this equation from here, so one can find out the velocity at the Fermi level of electrons, that is h cross upon m into 3n pi square upon V raised power 1 by 3. So by this way one can find out the energy, momentum, velocity of the particle. So these result basically are summarized here. So how one can find out the total number of the electrons or number of the states, because this n came from the density of the states. Here n is the result of 2 multiplied by the density of states, right? And Kf is equal to 3n pi square upon V raised power 1 by 3, that is independent from the mass. And again velocity in terms of h, m, n and V. So all these characteristics of the particle, of a free particle, one can explain from here, or one can determine all these things basically for a free electron. So now in the next part of the lecture, the fourth part of the video lecture, we will discuss about that. Now we have the idea of the electrons, that these number of the electrons, this is the energy, this is the velocity, this is the momentum, everything we have about the free electrons, right? So by using these characteristics of the electron, one can define the properties of the metal, right? So now in the next part of this fourth part of this series of lecture, we will try to find out the distribution of the electrons in different energy states, which are in earlier slides. We have seen the total number of free electrons in a metal, number 2 the free energy, Fermi energy, the wave vector at Fermi level, and also the velocity of the free electrons at the Fermi level. All these topics basically we are discussing into the section of free electrons theory in metals. Right. So all these things basically we have determined into the K space by assuming a sphere of Kf radius. So at the Fermi energy level, the velocity, the momentum, and the total number of electrons and the states, total number of states, we have determined already. So now we have to understand that how these free electrons are filled in the uh, available energy states. So now this is the point, right? We have determined the total number of electrons, total number of the states. Now the point is how these n number of electrons are distributed into these available energy states. So here we have found the range of physical observables means 0 to a maximum value, right, and that you can say up to the Fermi energy level, like Kf, momentum vector, energy up to the Fermi level, at Fermi level, velocity at the Fermi energy level. It means we have considered about the continuous range of energy that varies from 0 to the Fermi level. This is one of the most important concept in this particular topic, that the range basically is continuous, and we have to keep it in our mind, this assumption that all these variables as basically for the electrons are in terms of the range that varies from 0 to a maximum value. And our target for this lecture is to explain that how the electrons are distributed among the available energy states. So now mathematically we can represent the probability of occupying a given state by continuous distribution function that is known as Fermi-Dirac distribution function. So this is our Fermi-Dirac distribution function mathematically, that is represented by capital Fe is equal to 1 upon exponential part of E minus Ef upon kBt plus 1, where Fe explain the probability of an electron occupy the any given energy level, right? This is E is energy of the level in which we see the occupancy of the electrons, right? So we have a large number of the energy levels that vary from 0 to Ef. Ef is the Fermi energy level, and E here is that energy level in which basically we have to find out the occupancy of the electrons, and that occupancy of the electron is determined by the Fermi-Dirac distribution function. Kb is the Boltzmann constant, and that values is 1.38 into 10 raised power minus 23 joule per Kelvin. T is the absolute temperature. So these are the points, right? On that basis one can explain the Fermi-Dirac distribution function. Now the ultimate point is related to the density of states. The density of state is that number of energy levels in the given system in which total number of electrons are filled or have to be occupied. So we have considered here continuous energy range. I have already mentioned it, an important point. So one can determine the density of energy state between E to E plus dE. This is a sphere into the momentum space, and the energy of free electrons in metal varies from 0 to the maximum value. I have to find out the number of states between this range, that is dE. So the number of electrons, basically free electrons, which lies in this particular range of the energy, that is basically E plus dE minus E. So dE is the energy, that is small amount of energy, right? So in this interval we have to find out the number of electrons and number of the states in which these free electrons are filled, right? So D is the energy range in which we have to find the density of energy states. Suppose G, E, D, E are available quantum states. The notation for the density of state is denoted by GE, and we have to find out the GE, density of state in the range of dE. So total number of the energy states will be GE dE. These are the quantum state, and NED are the actual number of electrons in these states, right? So total number of the electrons are NEDE, and available states are GEDE. Fe is the probability function of the electrons occupying a particular energy state, right? So Fe is the Fermi-Dirac distribution function that defines the probability of the electrons that these electrons will be into this particular energy state, E. So in the range dE, the total number of electrons NEDV are defined by this formula. If we multiply the density of state by the Fermi-Dirac distribution function Fe, so one can basically obtain the total number of the electrons in that particular range. So here GEDE are the number of energy state in that particular range, and Fe are the probability distribution function. So what is the important point here? The energy states in the energy interval dE is determined by the positive octant of the sphere. One of the important point mathematically is that we have considered here a octant of the sphere, and that first octant basically have the positive values for all the points. So what is octant of the sphere? This is basically one of the 8th division of the 3D space by the coordinate planes, right? So by using this concept we defined the energy states, quantum state, right, that is GE. So GE is equal to 1 upon 8, this is volume of that sphere, where N indicate the radius, right, 4 by 3 pi N cube, where N is the radius of the sphere, and GE basically define the quantum states. So from the relation En is equal to N square H square upon 8 ml square, this is the formula for the energy of an electron in nth state, right? And if the particle is considered in an infinite potential depth well, L is equal to the range. L is the range of the potential well, that is one dimensional. H is the Planck constant, N is the quantum number, M is the mass of the electron. So this N basically is determined from this relation. So N is equal to 8 ml square E upon H square raised power 1 by 2. I have to put this value of N from the energy relation formula in for the quantum states. So GE is equal to 1 by 8 into 4 by 3 pi and the value of n cube, that is this one. So by this way one can find out the total quantum states. After simplifying it by using this assumption L3 is equal to V, that is volume. So GE you can define is equal to 4 pi V upon 3h cube into 2m raised power 3 by 2 E 3 by 2. So what are these GE? GE are the quantum states, available quantum state that defined with the help of an octant of the sphere. The first octant where all the points basically have positive values, and then after the consider the radius of that sphere is n, which is determined using the energy concept, energy formula, right? So from there when you put all these values you will get these quantum state in terms of the V, M and E. So now we are differentiating both sides of the above equation because we know that energy is in continuous form. So differentiation of this equation provide this result 2 pi V upon h cube to m raised power 3 by 2 and e raised power 1 by 2, because differentiation of this energy term with raised power 3 by 2 is equal to 3 by 2 e raised power 1 by 2. So when you will put this value you will get this result. So the density of the state in the energy interval dE is defined if you multiply this differentiation with dE. So these are the density of the states, d upon dE, differentiation of this term, quantum states, and then multiply by the dE, that is the energy range. So from this relation you can write GEDE is equal to 2 pi V upon h cube 2m raised 3 power by 2 e raised power 1 by 2 dE. So by this way one can determine the total quantum state in the range of dE. So now according to the Pauli exclusion principle only two electrons can exist in each state. So the density of energy state in the volume V is GED is equal to this is multiplied by the 2, and as a result you get total quantum states is equal to 4 pi V upon h cube to m raised power 3 by 2 into e raised power 1 by 2 into d. So this is the result for the density of state. But if suppose you want to find out the density of state per unit volume in energy interval dE, then you have to define it in terms of the prime G prime E dE are the density of energy state per unit volume, right, in the interval of energy dE. So it is 4 pi upon h cube 2m 3 by 2 e raised power 1 by 2 and d. So these are the quantum state per unit volume in that interval of the energy. So by this way the density of state within the energy interval d is given by NEDE, that is equal to FEGEDE. We had find out already the value of GE and DE. Now we have to put the value of FE, that is the Fermi-Dirac distribution function that define the probability of the electron in a particular state. So that is this one, and these are our quantum states. So total number of the electrons within that interval are defined by this relation, and after rearranging all these terms, this formula can be defined 4 pi v upon h cube into 2m raised power 3 by 2 e 1 by 2 this factor, and dE together with this dE upon exponential part e minus ef upon kt plus 1. So if one draw this particular result of density of state with the energy, so that behavior is basically like this one in this curve. So within this energy interval dE, it indicate basically the quantum states up to here, this one, right? So density of energy state for free electrons in a metal. And second point, here density of state are function of free electrons energy. And all these basically relations are derived keeping in mind that all the variables, momentum, velocity, energy, have a continuous range, that is basically from 0 to a maximum value. So we have considered here the energy, the momentum, the velocity of free electrons in continuous form, that starts from 0 to a maximum value defined by the Fermi energy level, means EF the Fermi energy, KF is the maximum momentum, and VF is the maximum velocity. So we have to keep this concept in our mind when we are driving these results. So review of these points. So we have to basically review here again the Fermi-Dirac's distribution function for free electrons in a metal. We know the electrons are fermions which obey the Pauli exclusion principle. So how these free electrons are filled into the energy levels at any particular temperature T can be determined by the Fermi-Dirac distribution function. So as you have seen atoms in the different energy state by Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution function, if you have the idea of pleasure that when you determine the Einstein coefficient, then that time the distribution of the atom correspond to the ground state and the excited state, we use the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution function. And here we are using the Fermi-Dirac distribution function, that is basically for the purpose to know that how the free electrons are filled into the available energy states at any temperature. So now the point is about analysis of this Fermi-Dirac distribution function, that is defined mathematically. Fe is equal to 1 upon exponential part of E minus Ef upon kT plus 1, where E is the energy of an allowed state and Ef is the Fermi energy. So how to analyze this Fermi-Dirac distribution function? For that, my first point is that I have considered here absolute temperature, that is 0 Kelvin. T is equal to 0 K. So then that time the exponential factor becomes infinite. When I put the value of T 0, this exponential factor becomes infinite, right? But I have to determine now this result will be positive or negative. It depends on the relationship between the available energy and the Fermi energy. So E minus Ef upon kT is equal to minus infinity if E is less than Ef. And we know about the Fermi energy level, that basically decide the field energy levels and empty energy levels. So right now E is below that, so it means this is filled, and the result of Fe is equal to 1. Fe is equal to 1, it means this is the probability distribution function which define the probability that if this is the situation, if energy level lies below the Fermi energy level, that will be completely filled. But in second case, when energy of the level is above the Fermi energy level, then result of this factor is positive infinity, and this time the result of Fe is equal to 0. It means there is no chance of electron in that particular energy state. So the probability distribution of the electrons in that particular energy state is 0. So by this way one can analyze the Fermi-Dirac distribution function, but this is true when temperature is 0 Kelvin. Right, so all the energy states are completely filled or either complete empty states. Right, but if suppose you have some temperature and the situation is E is equal to EF. At any temperature T, what will be the behavior of Fermi-Dirac distribution function for the metal? E is the allowed energy state, and that is basically at the scale of Fermi energy level. So the factor E minus EF upon KT is equal to 0, and this exponential term becomes 1, and Fe is equal to, if this is equal to 1, this factor is equal to 1, that's add basically into the second one, so it becomes 1 by 2. So Fe is equal to 1 by 2, that is equal to 0.5. So Fe here is 1 by 2. So what is the conclusion of it? The conclusion of this statement is, when the metal is at any temperature T, the allowed energy level is equal to the Fermi energy level, then the state will be half filled. The probability of that state to filled or to occupy by the electrons will be half. So there are three situations related to the Fermi-Dirac distribution function. When E is less than EF, when E is greater than EF, and when E is equal to EF. The first two conditions basically are considered when you are taking temperature, absolute temperature 0, and in the third case here you can consider that temperature may be anything. So but the condition is about the energy, that is equal to E is equal to F. So the energy levels below EF are completely filled and above EF are completely empty. For any temperature greater than 0, F is equal to half at E is equal to EF. So this is our conclusion of Fermi-Dirac distribution function. So when the states are filled, when they are empty, and when they will be half filled. So all these things basically further can be described with the help of a graph. So here Fermi-Dirac distribution function is plotted with respect to the energy. So you can see here that at E is equal to EF, here this is the Fermi energy level. So at Fermi energy level you see that all the energy states are completely filled at 0 Kelvin. Right. So at T is equal to 0, if E is less than EF, here this is the range of EF, and below that all the energy states are completely filled, and this straight line indicate to the 1. So if you draw normal here, that will be below the EF, and every time Fe is equal to 1, it means all the energy states are filled. If I consider E is greater than EF here, so there is Fe is 0. So there are no possibility of the field state. All the energy state are empty here beyond this line at 0 Kelvin. And here in this particular case of this particular graph figure, that is basically second case, when temperature is not 0 Kelvin, you are saying that this is greater than 0 Kelvin. You earlier discussed it, and the result found was 1 by 2 from this relation. So here 1, 2, 3, these three curves are considered along with this particular situation. So in case of third, right, the behavior of it is like this one. So now the situation is what? Situation is temperature is greater than 0 Kelvin. So then that time you see it cut at half. This is the half of Fe. So it cut, basically this curve cut it, the Fe at half. So this value is half, height of it half, and the states are filled beyond the Fermi energy level also. This is the range of Fermi energy level, and the area under this curve basically lies this one. So right, and similarly for 2 you can see, and similarly for 1. In every case, if you see that here all these energy states are completely filled, these are the energy states, right? So in case of 3, all the energy states beyond the Fermi energy level, this is the scale of Fermi energy level, so all the energy states are filled. But at this Fermi energy level, these are half filled, right? And beyond that, this is a small percentage, right, beyond the EF. And similarly for 1, right? So you are increasing the temperature basically, and as a result you are observing the behavior of this distribution function, that is the of Fermi-Dirac, right? So your conclusion is, when E is greater than EF, states are filled beyond EF also. So for an example, 5% above from EF, what will be the meaning of it? It means that E is equal to EF plus 5% of it. So the energy scale will be defined by the sum of these two. One is the Fermi energy level and 5% of this Fermi energy level. If one can write anywhere 5% above from the Fermi energy level, so you have to determine the value of it. Suppose that is this particular value, this is EF, and 5% is of it this one. 20% probability of electrons in these states. Suppose one says that 20% or 10%, 5% probability of electrons above the Fermi energy level. So it means Fe is equal to 20%. This Fe is equal to 20%, that is 0.2. So its value is 0.2. Right, and if you have to find out the velocity, then you can determine the velocity from this result. Vf is equal to square root 2 EF upon m. So now we come back to the concept of energy state and number of electrons occupied into that. Here we have discussed about the behavior of Fermi-Dirac distribution function, right? So how these basically electrons are filled in different energy states which are below to the Fermi energy level. So we have considered here continuous form of energy, that was very important point, and it varies from 0 to EF for an electron. Also the number of free electron increases in number with increases of energy and up to the maximum value EF. This is again an important concept. We know about the energy of electrons. So here The first point was that energy is continuous. Second point is that the number of free electrons basically increases with respect to the energy of states also. So at absolute zero temperature, T is equal to 0 Kelvin, Fe is equal to 1. This Fe is equal to E1, and it means that E, that energy level, lies below the Fermi energy level. So now the total number of electrons that basically lies from the 0 to this is the range of the energy 0 to EF. So we have to determine total number of the electrons that are n. N is equal to 2 by 3 into this result which you observed after the integration of this E from 0 to EF. So the density of electrons, that is the number of electrons per unit volume. Now you have to find out the density of electrons, and this density of electrons is determined by the ratio of N and V, right? And this is equal to 8 pi upon 3h cube 2m raised power 3 by 2 EF 3 by 2. So this is the result, mathematical result. Now the Fermi energy at absolute zero is given by from the above relation N by V, and that is this one, which can be defined in this way also, that is h square upon 2m 3n upon 8 pi 2 by 3. H is constant, m is constant, so pi is constant, and 3 and 8 also. So at absolute zero temperature, the Fermi energy is of the electron, free electron, is 3.65 into 10 raised power minus 19 into n raised power 2 by 3 electron volt. So at absolute zero, the average energy of an electron in metal is given by this formula. Now this is the total energy, Fermi energy of an electron in a particular energy state. And further, if we have to find out the average energy of an electron in metal, that basically is determined by this formula, this particular formula, that here total energy 0 to EF, all the electrons with this energy divided by the total number. So average energy is determined by this way after solving this integration. So E average is equal to 3 by 5 into EF by putting the value of capital N here at this particular point. So average energy of the electron is 3 by 5 EF. So question that determine the average energy and the speed of an electron at its mean energy is 0 Kelvin if the Fermi energy is 10 electron volt. So 10 electron volt is the Fermi energy is given, so you can put the value directly in this particular formula, that is 3 by 5 EF, and by this way you can find out that 6 electron volt is the average energy of the electron. If you know the average energy of the electron, you can find out the velocity of the particle at 0 Kelvin, and again we use the same formula which we have discussed earlier. So V is equal to under root 2 E average upon m, where m is the mass of the electron, and average energy we have find out already in terms of electron volt, then can be converted into joule by multiplying it 1.6 into 10 raised power minus 19 factor. So you will get this result, the velocity in crystals in metal, that is approximately 10 raised power 6 meter per second. And similarly, one more question, numerical problem related to this, so to make the idea more clear. So here consider silver in a metallic state with one free electron per atom. Calculate the Fermi energy given that density of silver 10.5 gram per centimeter cube and atomic weight is 108. So there are two things are given. Number one, the density of silver and the atomic weight. From that one can find out the volume of 1 gram mole of silver, that is 108 gram upon 10.5 gram per centimeter cube, because of using this formula. Volume is equal to mass upon density. Mass is given, density is also given. In addition to this, we know that Avogadro number of atoms per gram, that is 6.02 into 10 raised power 23. So when you are determining the density of the electrons, so you have to use this formula N upon V, that is equal to 6.02 into 10 raised power 23 N, and this is our V, 10.5 upon 108. And by this you can determine the value, that is approximately 5.85 into 10 raised power 28 per cubic meter. So you have now N upon V, and you can find out the Fermi energy by using this formula h square upon 8 pi square m into 3 pi square n upon V raised power 2 by 3. By putting the value of it and converting into the electron volt, the result is 5.5 electron volt. So by this way one can determine the properties of the solids by using the characteristics of the free electrons. So there are these possible ways by which one can determine the properties of the solids. So thanks for watching this video and this series of 4 lectures. I hope I have tried to make the idea of free electron theory more clear. So you can visit this video lecture at apniphysics.com, and for the general articles related to the education and the points of students, the behavior of student in classroom and outside the classroom, at vyomhans.com. Thanks. Your comments are valuable. If you find any difficulty or you have any problem to